Welcome to Surrogate Social. Thank you for coming back. My name is Jessica, and I have here with me Monica, my co-host. And today we have Megan, one of our amazing surrogates here, to just talk a little bit about her journey and where she's at and life leading up to it and throughout the process. So welcome, Megan. Thank you so much for being with us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to be a surrogate.
I'm Megan. I live in Pennsylvania. I have 2 kids of my own. So I've always thought surrogacy was super interesting. My kids are the most important thing in my entire life, and I couldn't imagine being somebody that wants to have kids and just not being able to. That's never been a problem for me. So I always thought it would be really interesting to be part of something so amazing and to be able to help somebody that desperately wants it so bad and not be able to get it on their own.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I know that like in your beginning process, when we originally got you matched, your intended parents had to create new embryos. So you had an extremely long wait. And so I really want to kind of talk about like, because you've always been so sweet and so patient and you're always like, it's okay, and so, obviously that's your personality too. But I wanted to talk about like emotionally what that felt like, how did you kind of tell yourself like, nope, I'm still committed to this. I'm still committed to these intended parents, right? Because you had the option to not wait for them and move out of that match. And so I really wanted to kind of talk about what motivated you to stay in it, in these because really you had about a year, where we were in delays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think with this being my first journey, like I wouldn't know any different. So as far as I know, like that's how long it takes for everybody, honestly. I wouldn't know it to be any quicker. So, and I mean, life's busy for me anyway. So, I work full time. I have 2 kids, so it's not a big deal.
You kept yourself busy in those downtimes.
Yeah.
And then just so like for like the world knows also, like you were in contract during that time. So you were receiving your monthly stipend. So like, not that that's the motivation, but that also doesn't hurt, right? Like, So you weren't just waiting, not receiving anything. Obviously you were still a part of like our community. You could still come to group and those kind of things. So did that kind of help or just kind of keep you motivated and engaged?
Yeah, it kept me engaged and motivated with like, also, like, I was in Facebook groups and, I could see everybody else, like, how things were moving along for them. So, like, kind of what I could expect. So, like, I knew things were coming. I just wasn't quickly. And like I said, it's not like I would even know that it's supposed to be any quicker than that because this is the first time I've ever done it. So.
Right? Like, sometimes it's good to be naive a little bit. Like, you're just like, sure, this is how long everything takes, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that it was, a long process. And then, it can be discouraging. So, from obviously your intended parents are so grateful. And I'm also so grateful that you didn't get discouraged. And if things were delayed, we talked about it, right? Like, this is what we're looking at. This is the timeline. We try to keep things moving, but sometimes we just can't push the wheel any faster. Right. So I greatly appreciate that. So like looking back during that period of time, like, did you just kind of were trusting the process, like you said, right? Like you didn't really ever feel like I need to jump ship or anything like that?
Never, ever. I would have felt horrible doing that. I could never have done that.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're so sweet. So, okay, so Hodge, I wanted to, before I go back to your section, I wanted to talk about during this time frame, and Megan's given us permission to talk about this because she had some significant life changes with a marriage that ended. They had one of the sweetest divorces I've ever witnessed. So, but, talk about a little bit what that looked like, just emotionally transitioning in a marriage. You guys went through the legal divorce in the very beginning stages. Your intended parents knew this was happening. And so just emotionally, like, did it feel different? Like, did it distract you with the surrogacy? Kind of just walk us through that, like doing 2 major life changes.
Right. I think like no one wants to get divorced, obviously. Like you don't get married thinking that you're going to get divorced. And I personally thought that my husband and I would have been together forever. But so when I made this commitment, obviously this was something we had talked about, and like this was something that I wanted to do and that he was very supportive of. He's still very supportive of and helpful with things that I need. Cause like, obviously, like when I have appointments and stuff and I can't get the kids when I would normally get them, he's very accommodating to all of it. But I do think like my surrogate journey was a very good distraction from it. It was something more positive for me to look forward to, and a good way to like keep my mind busy because, I had a lot to, like I have 2 kids that they're 6 and 8, so they know what's going on. Like it was hard for them. So transitioning my children's lives and my life and everything was hard, but like I had like more positive things to look forward to, and things like, I got to go to California in the middle of my divorce. Like, so that's so cool.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, so you think that you were able, I mean, I know you did, but like from like an outside source, like if they're looking at this or seeing this, like from emotionally juggling all these things, right? So it's kind of like our traits as moms, right? We just moved into the next
Yeah.
busy thing. So did you ever find it to be super overwhelming, or, just like, oh my, again, like, what am I doing? Did you ever kind of hit a roadblock emotionally with all these transitions, right? Like waiting on surrogacy, the kids' life changing, all that.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie. There were some points where I'm like, I have enough going on in my life. Like, do I really need to be like
Yeah.
taking on like the parts of somebody else's? But like, I
Yeah.
made the commitment. This is something I always wanted to do. And if I would have like given it up, I know I would regret it in like the future, because this was always something that I've been interested in doing. But like, I always weighed too much. So when I finally lost weight and like met the BMI to do it, and I was like one day just, maybe I'll apply. I'll try to do it. And then like got the okay to do it. Like I was so happy and excited that that was something that
Yeah.
I finally was able to do. So I knew that had I given up on it, I would have absolutely regretted it. And it just for like a bottom part of my life, you know what I mean? So like it wouldn't have been worth it. I would have looked back and regretted it. Absolutely. So
Yeah, no, that like an uncompleted thing, right? Maybe, or
yeah.
something like that. So, like obviously this isn't super common, but these things happen. And, I will say that your ex-husband was super supportive from the beginning. Like he was always willing to sign what documents we needed. And, so I think it was like, that's why I was saying it was like a very pleasant divorce. Like, I know it's not pleasant, but from like a logistics side of it, he was
Yeah,
always very supportive.
absolutely.
So, these things can come up in life, especially when you have a year and a half delay. Like you would have predicted you would have been done and already delivered in your surrogacy before we even got to this stage, right? So what would you give to like a newbie mom if this comes up for them? Like what, like not simple advice, but what advice would you give to someone to kind of help them push through, or maybe a conversation they could have with their partner as they transition in each lives? Like what would you say to somebody that would be in a similar situation of you?
Like if they're are getting divorced?
Yeah. Or like somebody like you, like a newly divorced, maybe going into a divorce or a separation in this stage.
Just keep going. Like, don't give up just because, like, you're sad. I get it. I understand. It's a lot to deal with. It really is. But, and I mean, like you said, my ex-husband has been very wonderful with all of it.
Yeah.
And I know not everybody, like, it probably wouldn't be the same for everybody, because a lot of people can't believe that my divorce was so easy. And, like, I know that it's
Right.
uncommon, but yeah, don't give up, because, like, odds are you don't just do this on a whim. Like, it's probably something that you've wanted to do or have thought about doing for a long time. So don't let, like a low moment in your life, like make you give up something that you've wanted to do for a long time. Cause ultimately, like there's a bigger picture to it, like helping somebody is always going to make you feel good, especially like something so amazing as like giving them a baby. That's incredible. And like in the end, you're going to feel really great. You did it.
Yeah, beautifully said. Because I mean, like you said, you worked really hard to get here. You worked amazing on your BMI, so I mean, these were big things that you took to make this goal happen. So, I commend you tremendously. You did amazing. You handled everything great. And also today was a special day for you because after second transfer, we have heartbeat confirmation. So like your big picture circle is all coming to fruition. Your good deeds, your good heart, like all of it's coming. And so I think, again, it's a testament to just women, moms, not giving up, pushing through the hard times, knowing that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. Like kids are going to be out of diapers. They're going to stop teething one day, right? And so like we can do these things. We just have to keep convincing ourselves that there's something good to be had at the end of the day. And so it's been remarkable to watch and, and be a part of like a little glimpse of your support and all of that. So, again, I commend you and your partner, ex-partner, on what you guys have done to make it a healthy transition for the kids too. So Hodge, I'm going to have you guys talk a little bit about failed transfers, because in her long wait, she also had a failed transfer, and you had a failed transfer, as a surrogate also. So I think, that's something not everybody understands. It happens very commonly. And so I want you guys to chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. But yes, everything that Monica said, Megan, I am so like backing her. You are amazing. And just thank you for still being here. Yeah. And as a surrogate, it is such a fulfilling feeling that I could imagine helping carry you through such an unpredictable time for you and your family. So that is awesome. So as a first time surrogate, I was also a first time surrogate with my failed transfers. But did your failed transfer bring you like any fears or self doubt, or how did you feel about it going into the transfer and then kind of knowing like that it didn't stick?
So like when I wanted my kids, I wanted a baby. I tried. Like my daughter was an accident. So like, if I can accidentally get pregnant, I can get pregnant. You know what I mean? Like
On purpose. Yeah.
100%.
And then with my son, like I wanted to have another baby. I tried and I did. Like I had no problems. I had no problems with my pregnancies. Like I had no problems with my deliveries. And I'm like, okay, they're going to put a baby in me. I'm going to have a baby. You don't think anything, like I didn't even think that it wasn't going to take, honestly. Like it never even occurred to me that wasn't going to happen. So then when it didn't, I was just like, what the heck? Like, so automatically I'm like, so what did I do wrong? Because like the last time I wanted to have a baby, I just had a baby. Like it was no big deal. But everybody was great with like, letting me know that it was nothing that I did. It just happens sometimes, like such as life.
Yeah. And right. And I think like as a surrogate too, like, well, first of all, our bodies are literally like the perfect place for these little embryos to get comfortable in, right? Our uteruses are nice and fluffy. We have all the hormones needed. And like in a scientific way, like, okay, I understand we didn't do anything wrong, right? We took our medications, we went to the appointments, we did what we needed to do, but we still can't help but feel like a little bit responsible because, it's still our bodies, right? And we still feel that loss for ourselves and for the intended parents. So that disappointment is like, of course, so normal to feel. But then we just kind of pick it back up and see what we need to do next. I think that when I had my first failed transfer, we were in similar shoes because my intended parents didn't have any more embryos also. So we were kind of going back and forth between like, are we going to stay in contract and wait for them to create embryos, or kind of what was happening? But in my situation, it was like peak COVID, so they weren't able to make more embryos. So contract broke, I had to get rematched, right? So along the way, we just do our very best, and that disappointment is normal and expected. But as long as, with the support of Estelle and Monica and the team and other fellow surrogates in our group, I'm just talking about it openly, just it's so normal and common. And I feel like the majority of us have had failed transfers. It's just not very talked about, right? How did you process your disappointment, like emotionally? Like you said, like you were kind of shocked, right? Like you had no idea or didn't think that it was going to happen. Like on an emotional level, how did you kind of get through that?
I mean, so once I had posted in like my surrogate group and stuff, a lot of people reassured me that like it happens. And Monica was very reassuring, and like pretty much my whole team was just, I didn't do anything wrong. Like it just happens. Like there's no reason for it. It just happens. So, I mean, I was upset. Like my intended parents are awesome. I don't want to let them down, I don't want to disappoint them, but like even they were really great about everything. So I think once everybody kind of reassured me that it kind of just is what it is, it is what it is. And, we just try again.
Right. And you made a good point.
I was going to just say, like, I think sometimes as a surrogate, you feel like maybe you shouldn't be disappointed or sad, or because you think, well, like, it's not my baby. Like, should I be this disappointed? Well, absolutely. Right. Like you want it so bad. You're on these medications, you put in like this work. And like you said, most of us get pregnant kind of on accident, or just like, oh, it was so easy. And so you just don't even blip it. And so I think there's a little bit of like, well, gosh, should I be this disappointed, or should I be this sad? And so you kind of can't process it all, right? So I think that's very common.
Yeah. And something else that I think that isn't really talked about, like as a surrogate and anybody going through IVF, we know so much in the process that like you wouldn't know in your own pregnancy. So at the time that we have our embryo transfer, if it was like our normal conceiving, we wouldn't even know that there was possibly a fertilized egg, trying to make its way into the uterus. Like it would be so far early that we would have no idea. So I think too, just knowing that we just have so much more knowledge throughout this process, and just kind of understanding that at a certain point, while it is scientific and we are controlling every single piece of it, it is still very based on biology, and we're still human. Our bodies are still having to adjust and adapt, and like, what is this thing that's being inserted in me to, what am I doing here, kind of a thing. So yeah, I totally understand. Now, I don't know if it was similar for you, but for me, I had two well, I know it's not the same timeline, but I had a failed transfer, I had a rematch, and then it was like a year and a half later where I had another transfer and it ended out being like a blighted ovum, so still not successful. And then I went on to have my son, and then I went on to have two successful surrogacy journeys. But for me, going into my first successful surrogacy journey, so I mean, I don't know, that was like 3 years later. I kind of was scared. Like I was scared again. I kind of went into it like, oh, it's gonna fail. Like I
Yeah.
just had this mindset like, okay, I already know it's gonna fail. This I'm probably not cut out to be a surrogate for whatever reason, and I started like self-doubting. Did you experience any of those feelings?
Going into the second transfer.
Yeah. Yeah, going into the second transfer.
Going into the second transfer, I like felt a little discouraged because of like the previous failed transfer. And like, you know, I went to into the first one, like so sure that like I was going to be pregnant after. And so it's like almost like I didn't want to jinx it the second time. So I'm like, that's not even going to work. And we actually did 2 embryos that time. And I'm like, yeah, watch. This is going to be like a waste of their embryos. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting everything. And like, I'm not going to do something right. And it's just not going to be what we want it to be. But I was wrong. So.
Yeah. Fair. Cause I totally felt the same. Like even after even going into like my second journey, even on heartbeat confirmation day, I called Monica that morning and I was like, there's not going to be a heartbeat. And she's like, why do you say that? And I was like, I don't know. It's just not happening. Like it can't go like this because I've experienced it go the other way, you know?
Yeah. That was me.
So
like,
I think it's just,
me this morning too. I was like,
yeah,
people that I work with know that like I'm doing this and they've been asking me like, how are you feeling? How's everything going? And like, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I go for my ultrasound next week. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, what do you think? Do you think you're going to have 2? Do you think you're going to have 1? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, probably none. That's my luck. Like,
right.
But so far, so good.
So I almost think it's a way to protect ourselves. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's just it's a way to protect yourself, right? Like you're just protecting your heart slightly. You're kind of anticipating a disappointment, so how you don't want to process it necessarily the same way as the first failed transfer. And I feel like we need to rename the word, like not use failed transfer, like unsuccessful transfer or something. Like, so, you know, there's so much like, you know, I don't even want to say shame, but like disappointment in that term, right? Because again, you don't have any control over it. So I know it's kind of like this unsaid anxiety going into the next round. Like you said, it's just, oh, this is going to keep happening. And what is this going to look like? And you just want it so bad for your intended parent, you know? And so it's a buildup for sure. Surrogacy is a lot of up and downs, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. And you know, it's just as emotional for the surrogates, you know, as the intended parents have struggled with infertility, you know, for sometimes decades. It's that emotional wave is just a lot to process, I think.
Yeah, lots of excitement, and then you hit a milestone, and then now you're just anxious again for that next milestone. And then and then you know, you're approaching anatomy scan, and then all of a sudden you're halfway, but you know, it's such a beautiful journey though. And I think that it's just our way as human beings also of just protecting ourselves, like Monica said, and allowing ourselves to feel, because again, we're still human and we are pumping ourselves full of hormones at that time. So
yeah. So you're knee deep in progesterone injections. So, you know, you're sore, you're bruised, like, you know, you know, and you got a good chunk of time left, right? So, I mean, let's talk on that real quick. Like, so now you've done 2 rounds of IVF, like, you know how sore you get. And so like, how are you convincing yourself that you're going to make it through the next, you know, another 6 weeks of injections from this point on? You know, you got good news today. So now there's motivation that there's a pregnancy. But what do you tell yourself on a daily basis when you're injecting yourself with the progesterone with a sore fanny?
It could be worse. It could be twice a day. I mean, I just, I don't have a choice. I have to. I mean, actually, my butt cheeks were getting so sore. I tried it in my leg. That was worse. I don't recommend it. Don't put it in your leg. Just stick to the butt cheek.
Stick to the butt cheek.
Yeah. As bad as it gets, I think it's very painful in the thigh. Yeah. I think just stick it out for sure.
Yeah. Well, so many girls I work with were like, I put my B12 in my leg, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it in my leg. Awful, awful, awful. So after trying it in my leg, the butt cheek's no problem. Not a problem.
I love it.
I'll stick to my butt cheek.
Yeah. You're like, solve that problem. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of start finding new spots. You
Yeah.
start going more up and more
Yeah.
out, and then
Yes.
But I think too is just like those progesterone shots. Now that you know that there's a little baby in there, it's kind of more motivating.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I'm not doing it for nothing.
progesterone's going to do
Yeah.
its thing. Yep. And then your placenta will take over, and then it's kind of a sigh of relief when you get.
Yeah.
I remember starting counting down my last time, like at 70 shots. I was like, okay, we're at 70. We're almost there.
I know. That's an awful number. That's a scary number.
I know, but once you're pregnant and it's confirmed, it's gonna fly by. Like,
yeah,
you've had a lot of waiting, and you're gonna get to this point where you're like, holy crap, I'm already delivering.
Yeah,
it'll go fast from here. And then also, like, if you get morning sickness, like, you're like, well, I could not have morning sickness, like, or because I could have, another unsuccessful transfer. So
right.
I'm the queen of always flipping something to the positive, or trying to find, like, I'm always devil's advocate. We've got to find the positive in it. And I think you're really good at that too, Megan. Like, just, okay, well, like you said, it could be 2 progesterone shots, or, all these things. So, there's a reason for all these milestones, and even like discomforts and things like that, right? Like, so Hodge, do you have anything else on transfers that you guys wanted to chat about?
I think just to close that part is like, what do you wish more people would understand about failed transfers and or the emotional impact of it, or just anything that has to do with a transfer not sticking? Is there anything specifically that you think that could help potential surrogates, or even just anybody who is curious about the process?
I mean, just like we said, like, there's nothing you do that makes your transfer fail. Like, it just happens. So even if, I had 2 kids, no problem. I didn't get pregnant my first transfer. Don't know why, no reason for it. Like, it's just is what it is, and just try again.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Stick it out, stay positive.
Yeah. Don't get discouraged.
Keep yourself busy in the downtime.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to kind of talk about, like, looking back on the last year and a half, almost 2 years, like, you've been in this, to get to this stage, like, what do you find that you like are like, oh my gosh, I did that. Like, I'm so proud of myself, or, what can you tell yourself? Like, maybe you haven't said it out loud yet, but like, what can you tell yourself? Or if someone else is looking at this and thinking, gosh, why did she wait a year and a half? Like, why did she stick it out? What would you tell yourself, or a newbie, that you've learned about yourself in the last pretty much 2 years to get this stage?
I'm a little more patient than I thought that I ever was. I mean, I am pretty much like a go with the flow, take it as it comes kind of person. But typically I have no patience. My kids would say the same. I'm not a patient person. If I want something, I want it. So this is, you have to be patient. You aren't in control. Like, there are so many moving parts with all of this, that, like, so many people involved, that you just kind of have to sit back and wait until you're told to do the next thing. And it'll come when it comes, because you can't control it.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly said, right? Like, I always kind of try to explain it like, this is a very controlled environment, like surrogacy. There's lots of rules and regulation, but it's completely uncontrollable, right? So what we can control is our own patience, marking our things off our own list, keeping positive, keeping busy in these downtimes. So I think you said that perfectly. Like, yeah, I think that's amazing. And so I think we kind of already answered it. Like, I would say, like, you've been at this since October of 24, right? So you've already said it. Patience is the key, right? And so I think you just keep grinding. Communication is a lot. Like, we talk about the downtimes or the delays, and talk it through, talk it with your peers, talk it with your agency. I think that's key. And then you also have super supportive intended parents, of course. So that obviously helps tremendously, right? Yeah. So again, like, we already kind of talked about this advice that you would give. So patience, not giving up. Is there anything else you would tell, like, a first-time surrogate that's like, hey, I think I could do this? Like, think about your little baby self, like, when you were researching surrogacy, in addition to, like, patience in, going with the flow, what would you give a new surrogate advice?
Don't really have any expectations, because you think you've been pregnant, you think you've had kids, you know exactly what's going to happen, you know the journey. It's not the same. Like, you don't just get pregnant and go to the doctor. There's a lot of appointments, there's a lot of checkups. And me, I'm not close to everything that I need to go to. I live in the middle of nowhere. I have to drive 2 hours for blood work. Like, not everybody would be willing to do that. So I drive 2 hours for a 5-second appointment, and I come home and then do it again a week later. Like, it's insane. So don't expect that you know exactly what's going to happen, because you don't. You know, Monica gave me the thing in the very beginning of, hey, ideally, this is how it's going to happen. These are the steps we're going to take. I had a failed transfer, so
Yeah.
that was a bit of a setback. In between my two transfers, I had to take an extra trip to California because I needed the saline ultrasound, which nobody around me would do. So, like, there was just a
When did you
lot
come
of
back?
unexpected things that you wouldn't ever think about just because you've had a baby before. Like, there's a lot that you have no idea until you're in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I think that's
everything.
true.
Yeah, I was going to add, everything is scrutinized, right?
Yeah.
Like we think we have these perfect pregnancies on our own, deliveries are good, no
Yeah.
problem. But I mean, after I had my son, I was like, all right, Monica, I'm ready to start surrogacy again. And the clinic wouldn't clear my medical records because there was one little note in some of my medical records that like I had something in my tubes or something. And I'm like, what? Like nobody's ever even like talked to me about this,
Yeah.
but here we are, 4 months of the clinic trying to approve my records, which resulted in me having to go and do some random procedure. And it's just that unpredictability, you know, like you said, as surrogates, we've obviously had very easy, low risk, low complicated pregnancies on our own. And that's just not the case as a surrogate. You know, everything is scrutinized. Everything's unpredictable, and at the end of the day, like every pregnancy is different, no matter if it's your own or IVF or as a surrogate or anything like that. So
yeah, and I
totally
think
agree.
Megan touched on a good point. Like when you live in these little small towns, there are
Yeah.
IVF clinics, right? Like so it's not like a girl that lives in San Diego goes to an appointment 10 minutes away. Like there's a different level of commitment when you live in these smaller towns. We even just to get her heartbeat ultrasound, I mean, we had to it was pulling teeth to find somebody to do it because I was about ready to put her back on a plane to come back out for the 10-second ultrasound, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of level of commitment. Yes, you're committed as a surrogate. Yes, you're committed to the pregnancy. Yes, you know you're going to be on injections for 4 months. But like these added things come into play, like a 2-hour appointment, just to drive, so these things get tedious. It's hard for childcare. It's hard on work, like all these things you just don't think about. And so when you're committed, you got to commit to the whole big picture that sometimes we don't see it. Like we didn't know there wasn't going to be a place to go have an ultrasound until we're in it. And then we got to adjust. Right. So this is where the flexibility comes from. Most surrogates you'll find, like as we're chatting with girls, we're all very organized. We're all very type A. We're all, want what we want. But then this is where the fluidity and the patience come into play. For sure. So if you could describe your surrogacy to point, right? Like now you're in the good part, you're pregnant and all that, is your why the same? Like why you wanted to be a surrogate the same? And if you could describe it, like in a couple words, what would you kind of summarize your surrogacy journey as of now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love the idea of giving somebody like something that they can't achieve on their own, but unpredictable. Absolutely. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
And amazing. I mean, it's given me the opportunity to, I've been to California 3-4 times.
3 times now.
So like I would never have done that on my own. So, I mean, it's good. Like, obviously I'm doing something amazing for the parents, and hopefully I'm going to give them a baby, but it's always also been amazing for me too. Like, also it's like it's, I don't know, a journey that not a lot, like I've never met anybody that's ever done this. So like, I just think it's something like, really cool to say that like, hey, I'm doing that,
I agree. Yeah. So, I mean, these are like adventures that you wouldn't have had in life that surrogacy leads you on, right? Like all these little things, like you don't kind of associate with being a surrogate. And then you get it, like carry that badge of honor forever. And then you can even be like, well, it took me 2 years to get to that. So it's like, you kind of get these little badges, like, in the military, like things that we can add to our badge. So, and to say like, well, and I had these adventures, and it just it really just the sisterhood, the friendship, like it just kind of keeps adding on, and it's remarkable. And I think sometimes from the outside world, it doesn't necessarily always seem like that. Like you gain so much as a human, as a woman, as a mother, being a surrogate too, obviously the financials and like these adventures, but like it also teaches you things in life. Like now the kids can maybe say mom's a little bit more patient, or, things like that. Right.
Or like,
well,
even, 2 years ago, if you would have told me that I was going to get on an airplane and fly the whole way across the country on my own, I would have said, you're insane. I don't do anything by myself. Like, I don't go out to eat by myself. I forget it. How embarrassing. But I did it. I got on an airplane and flew across the freaking country all by myself. I have a favorite restaurant in California. So, like, that's crazy.
Right? No, I know. Like, you can do these big girl things, and sometimes, like, you wouldn't have pushed yourself to do that, right? Like, all these things, like, it's just remarkable. And then you can add that to the notch of things that you can accomplish now. Right? Yeah. It's remarkable. Well, I'm so proud of you. And, your journey has been unique, to say the least. And, your commitment shines through. And we're so, so grateful for you. And, I love that our podcast was today on heartbeat confirmation. Like, it was remarkable to be able to celebrate this with you in person and be able to see you today. And so we're so grateful. We wish you a smooth, pregnancy from here on out, not too sick, get you through injections and into the good phase of pregnancy, right? But yeah, so I appreciate you so much. Your commitment has been remarkable, and your intended parents are so lucky to have you. And we're so lucky to have you be part of our program and call you one of our girls.
Thank you. I am very lucky. I'm so glad that, I chose to sell, because I couldn't imagine, anyone else being in charge of me, because you do so well. And I appreciate everything. All my questions are always answered. You were always very informative. Like, I feel like I chose the perfect match for me.
Oh, I love that. That makes me so happy. Because I think that that's key, right? Like, the bond has to be good. That your questions get answered. And, because again, all of these things that we've talked about, it's sometimes can be wacky. So I appreciate that so much. And we're so happy for you and your intended parents. And thank you so much for joining with us. I greatly appreciate you taking time at the end of your day to talk with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks,
all right.
Megan.
Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you guys next time.